on the Mark Global Tribe. Get yourself ready for a dose of reality, for a dose of honesty, and a big dose of entertainment. We have the one and only SpeedGolfRob on the show. Rob, how are you, man? Yeah, so I'm going to act like Marucci, and you're going to be the guy that you are, Rob. Listen, you made a statement that I want to read back to you. And then I want you just to react like you normally do, because yours is all inspiration. You said the way amateur golfers can get better is to let our swing find us through the process of emptying our mind, reacting, being athletic, focusing on a practical task like the action of throwing. Off you go.
I've been through it all like many of us have, Marucci. I've had people say, swing easy, kid. I've been through it all, Marucci. And then at some time, I got the swing speed way up. But I had a realization, Marucci. Let me take you back. And there's millions of books and there's millions of magazines. And I love them. And all credit to them. But I spent time wondering what was that swing I had when I was a kid, and feeling bits and feeling bobs. And guess what happened then, Maroons?
The tire. Okay, yes.
Well, lots of things happened, and this is a long story.
Okay.
But let's go to here when the tire came about. Now, I know a certain Henry Cotton is very well known to have used the tire. And it may or may not be for different or the same reasons. Maybe you can tell me. But when I come here and I go, when I go, when I'm hitting this, there is no anxiety about the ball flight. There is no anxiety about the result of my shot. And I found that I can access my swing.
You know what?
And then I haven't. And now then I haven't. And I haven't. And I haven't. And I know I interrupted you, but we'll come back.
No problem.
I haven't. And then I have a choice. Mark, please continue. And then I remember where I am. I haven't.
Okay, Rob. Love you. Love your passion. Love what you've done in the golf instruction space and Instagram.
I love you.
There's a passion about you that's infectious. And you just said to me, you're like, I can express my swing. Now, for most folks watching this, expressing their swing, you've said it, is riddled with anxiety. They're mixed between the target, the voices in their head, and you, in all your wisdom, have said, look, the target is actually the golf ball, where we're so mixed up with other stuff that we never apply this golf club, like Henry Cotton did, just squarely to the side of a big tire, building up hand strength, building up a correct path, square club face, all those things required to get the ball on line. So have at it.
The build, the makeup. The ranges of motion, the lack of, the specific body type I have. People can measure that, decipher that, and I say all credit to them. I love those people, I read and I listen. But I can jump to the final result of what I can do by hitting this. And then I have it, and then I have it, and then I have a choice. When I get there and the ball's right in front of me, if I can make that same swing, then I believe I am on the right path, Marucci. Yes, Marucci. And now what happens? Here's what happens. I make that same swing. Forget this is the tire. This is the ball. I make that same swing. I remember that feeling. Up, ow. Then what happens? The ball might not go exactly where I thought it was going to go. And now here's my perspective. I have two choices. I can say it must have been something in technique. And I go, or I can accept that this is small They're slightly bigger now most of the time, but this is small regardless. And the ball is small. And there are many variables at play. And you need, once you access your swing, you need to be patient to acquire the skill, to hit the shot, observe the shot, let it sink in, and then go again.
Yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. You know, all of us, Rob, we have like an influence. I talked about this the other day where people's golf swings are a function of what they've done a lot. And I had no idea, but I'd
What
read,
they've done what? What they've done a lot?
yeah, what sport they've done a lot. You know, like if someone's played cricket or rugby or whatever the case might be, baseball, tennis, you know, there's all some sort of influence with golf folks. And you can kind of see it in their swing. Now, you spoke of the playing of speed golf and how it unlocked you and helped you to find your natural swing. Folks, he's celebrating in front of us on YouTube here. Helped you find you. And instead of trying to do something else, like all those books, all that stuff you've referenced, you just allowed the speed golf to help you find your own freedom. Tell us the story.
Mark, thank you for asking me. The speed golf journey set me on this journey to thinking about the golf swing and the strike differently. So let me tell you, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
I started in 2008 on my own in Ireland, and I played for the first time in a tournament in Bandon Dunes in 2012, sponsored by Mike Kaiser. Let me tell you my experience, Marucci. I was so terrified. I was so terrified that I went off unreasonably fast, faster than any other competitor. Now, let me tell you what happened then. Now, before that, let me give you some context. I was a young assistant pro. I was playing in tournaments. I was on the team. You know the feeling. I know the feeling. Everybody listening knows the feeling. Maruch, I hadn't hit a fairway in normal golf all year.
Wow.
How could that be? I'd hit 10 billion golf balls all throughout my youth. How could that be? No! I went out on the first tee. I went so fast, Mark. My heart rate, and I've had a heart rate monitor on, 182 beats per minute on average for the round of golf. What happened, Marucci? I settled into a rhythm.
Okay.
Some rhythm we might not be able to define. I settled into a zone, Marucci.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hallelujah! I hit the ball so pure in 2008. This was for me a revelation. I hit every fairway after the first 3 holes, and I was a basket case. After the first 3 holes, I got my hook out of the way. I got my push out of the way, and then I hit 15 fairways, not 15 fairways, but 15 greens, and however many fairways there were. I played the best golf of my life, and now we're playing in under 40 minutes, Marucci. I was better than I thought I was. All those millions of balls, they're in there somewhere in me. They're in there somewhere in you. Everybody listening, Marucci.
What you say is so right. But now I'm looking at you going, yes, that makes sense. But what about this and what about that and all of these things? Oh, he's raising his finger at me. Help me. We also encumbered and handcuffed by things we got to do and things we're not allowed to do. Help me, please.
Not everyone wants to have their heart rate at 182 beats per minute while they're playing golf.
No.
Okay, I hear you, Mark. And people say to me, now that you've been playing in 40 minutes, it must drive you crackers to play in 4 hours. And I say, no, Marucci, that state of mind I experienced in speed golf, having been in that bubble, I can take it to my state of mind when I'm playing golf. I can recognize what happened. I can recognize the joy, the ball striking, how effortless it was. Time slowing down, Marucci.
Yeah.
And I can recreate that, having experienced it. So I invite people, I invite you, I invite everybody to play in some slightly different state. I'm not saying you have to sprint. I'm saying maybe take out 3 clubs, 4 clubs, walk really fast. I'm saying go for a 10-mile cycle before you play. Do something like that to get yourself into a different physical space, to get yourself, therefore, into a different mental space. And then you'll have something to take back. Because when you're on the 18T and you're under pressure, and those are the shackles, Marucci, or are they? Or is that the nerves you can enjoy that can heighten the experience? I'm saying then, you can find that place that you experience and go back there, Marucci.
I want to try that. I've done that one time. We played in 100-hole-a-day golf marathon. And I was a good player at the time. And I remember going out there and we were racing around the place initially, and it was kind of ragged. But then when I totaled it all up, I think I shot scores of 63, 64, 63. It was ridiculous. And my logical mind, Rob, could not wrap itself around there. And then I still, thereafter, went back and became all pedestrian, all trying to do the right thing the next time I play. It defies logic, yet it makes so much logical sense. Now I know I'm acting like Marucci and not listening, so please convince me one more time.
I agree with what you're saying, and the way I've summed it up is you are better than you thought you are. You are better than you thought you were. Somewhere in there, you can hit those pure shots. I know you can. You sometimes have to access it. That's the trick, isn't it? That's what we're all trying to put our finger on. Everybody. Yeah. Everybody, tell me. Tell me who doesn't go through that. Didn't Tiger Woods said he wanted to own a swing?
He did. Owning the swing. You talk about you compare the swing to throwing a stone, and you talk about Tiger Woods. Ben Hogan said the same thing. It was like skipping a stone across water. You have a video, in fact, where you're standing in a beautiful Irish stream and you're skipping rocks along the place there. And then you talk about being loosey goosey and all these things that sort of defy all the modern day golf instruction, because we all have to have wrist flexion or nut extension and all this kind of stuff. And you like just loosey goosey. It's like throwing a stone. And then you talk about the Holy Grail position. Tell us what that Holy Grail position is.
Let me tell you, when I talk about skimming the stone and people talk about hand pat, that's great. Or what I talk about when I'm throwing is this. I have somebody, I'm trying to coach them, and they're swinging like this. And then I give them a stone to throw, maybe even downward at the ball, downward and forward. All of a sudden, that same person, wow, perfect sequencing. They can do it. It's innate in here. All you have to do is remember, we're throwing the club down at the ball. So be brave and recreate that, Marucci. And then that leads to another thing. This ball is round. This has loft. So the latest thing that I'm so very in love with is imagining that the ball is flat. At some point in your career, if you're doing this, no. If you imagine through the center of the ball, alive, and that there is no loft on this. If this is flat, why are you going to be square? You don't see anything, something flat doing this? No.
Yeah. Folks, what he showed.
Now we talk about the loose goose. Now we talk about the loose goose. I watched the young Rory McIlroy on the tee, Ulster Art Golf Club, County Galway. It was index one. And I just been out on the course, Mark.
Okay.
And index one, there was out of bounds left. Right was dead. I get up there, have my practice swing, whatever, and then
Oh, yeah. I feel you.
I guided it up there. You know that. I went out and I watched Rory McIlroy hit there. He swung at the ball in the same way as if he was hitting out to the ocean, Marucci. Now, that was something I believe, repetition from a young age, many golf shots. Not all of us did that. Not all of us hit 500 shots a night in the evening time after school, Marucci. Maybe you did, Mark, but not out of the viewers. Who did that? So we have to come to terms. We have to come to terms with what I used to think was disassociation from the target. But I think of it differently now, Mark. Okay. I think that we look at that fairway just like McIlroy did. We create a plan, divide the ball shape. And then there's a model in the brain, Marucci, that we transfer to the ball. And to illustrate this point, I like to say, all of everything could fade away. You could be in a black space. It could go dark, for example. And the ball, like the impact factors that you have to bring to the ball, data where you want to do are the same. Therefore, the ball is the target.
Yeah, the ball is the target. And I love how you would change our mindsets. And this was what attracted me out of all the stuff you put out, where you said the loft, the roundness of the ball is confusing us. Think of your club face as a flat object. The ball is a flat object. You wouldn't come in there all crooked to try and hit this thing straight. I want to go along those lines too, because you did something, and right now you're in your warehouse there and you've got an old golf club in your hand, but you made a case for a neutral grip. And in golf nowadays, when I was coming up, you can probably think the same thing. We were taught that good golf begins with a good grip. And now everyone's like, just hold it however you do, but understand that there are matchups required to get the club face in there square to your square golf ball. I'm with you. You got to hold the club in a certain way to make life easier. Help me, please.
For years, I've struggled with the books. I've read all the books. You put your hands here, you do this, you do that. But I have yet to find a good reason for that. And I think I found one, Marut. And as I'm saying that out loud, maybe what they're talking about with the two little fingers here and there on the top of the hand, maybe that this could be related. You can relate to, you can talk big. But let's get something heavy. Let's get something heavy, Marucci. Hold on there 1 second.
I'm holding on.
It's the very brush I used the other day. It's the very brush I used the other day. Now I understand some people are up here. I understand DJ's doing that. And layman's doing that. Now I'm not layman. I'm a layman. And I'm saying, for the vast majority of us, if you take the wrist hinge out of the context of the rest of the golf swing, a lot of the time, we're just doing that. So I put my hands on the club in a weak position. I can hardly lift this thing. Mm-hmm. I put my hands on the club in a strong position. I can hardly lift that thing. But if I put my hand in a neutral position, so to me, for me and my body, this is how I should hold the club, how I ought to hold the club.
Amen, my friend. It all seems so simple, almost like a video you put out where you were like, I can teach you, and you had a student with you. You said, I can teach you to swing the club like a tour pro in 10 seconds. Now, instantaneously, that's the kind of thing where people are going to be, oh, yeah, I'm up for that. So 10 seconds for real? I mean, are you serious about this? I'm
100% serious about this. And I know exactly what you're talking about, Marucci. You're talking about Big Bill over there in the woodshed, Marucci. Now let me tell you this. Take off your arm. Put down your club. Imagine your golf club is welded to the middle of your body. How are you going to move the club, Marucci?
You're going to be dynamic.
Continue as you're doing, as we're all doing. You're gonna do this. No! If you really have to move the club with the club welded to your middle, I'm talking now. All of a sudden, I'm moving laterally up and down and around in an extremely dynamic fashion because it's easy to find out and relate to, Marucci. And that's how a tour pro moves their body. That's how they hit it 300 yards, seemingly effortless, where the rest of us are scrambling around 100 yards behind. Now, that's how you move your body like a tour pro. You gotta let the arms follow along. You gotta let the club follow along. They will multiply the speed that you've created. Oh, no! Yeah!
I love that. But I know people are listening to you going, I'm on board. I want to be dynamic. I want to be like Rory. I want to be like a tour pro. But then they're like, I'm going to move up and down and laterally and rotary and do everything that I should, stuff I hear about. But again, down there at the bottom of this whole thing, Rob, there's a golf ball to strike. Help me reconcile this whole thing where I'm dynamic and I'm still colliding with that golf ball at the right place.
Well, let me just go back to the start of your question, Mark. When somebody looks at somebody explaining or evaluating how somebody is doing something very well in the golf swing and doing all those seemingly complicated things effortlessly, the genesis of that is because they were on the range as a kid wanting to keep up with the big fellas. Mm-hmm. They were ripping at it, going hell for leather, due to their dreams and their ambition. They achieved that by moving their body in an optimal way, Marucci. And then somebody comes in and can quantify that, and all credit to them. But I think it's a real big point how they attained that skill in general, for the large part, in my view. They didn't look at the book, Marucci. They smashed it. And I invite you to smash it too, Marucci. The ball. It also, you said it all sounds so simple, because it is simple. However, we have to acknowledge it's not easy, Marucci. So therefore, at some point you have to look beyond someone saying good shot. At some point you have to look beyond that trophy you won. They're important too. But at certain times where you're on the range and you're saying, no. You have to be in the right room of what you're doing. You have to want to be there 100%, Marucci. I think it's very important what Hogan may or may not have probably said. You have to take time to smell the flowers, Marucci. Because how else are you going to continue on? Because the skill takes time. There's pitfalls and traps, Marucci. But if you do take the time, if your inspiration and ambition and love is high enough for you to reach for each and every day, well then, Marucci, you will persevere and the skill will be yours.
I am all for that. It'll be a challenge, but I'm all in. I know you're a busy man, Rob. I have one more, and I think it's almost the parting shot, where you've made so much sense, as you always do. And you've helped people to kind of go, okay, this doesn't have to be connecting the dots. But I want to go back to where you say finding a way to match your swing to your body type. Because you talk about Rory. You know, I've gotten to know him calling golf. And man, he makes golf look heavenly. He really does. And it's so easy to envy. And then it's so easy to go and break down his swing. And I want to use use my legs like he does, and we all get to copying because we see all the stuff on the internet. Help us to find the swing that fits our body type. Because you there, to me, you talk about the Holy Grail position. I feel like you're onto the Holy Grail there.
I am very interested in what we're talking about here, Mark. And there are people, geniuses out there, who are quantifying this. and they're measuring people, and they're suggesting a way forward. And that is brilliant. I love that. I listen to those people. I love that, Marucci. But what I'm saying is, McIlroy built that swing for his body type by going after the task, Maruch. I'm saying if we find a way to step outside that, that we don't even have to find the swing. The swing is ours. Maruch, if you throw a ball and you really need to, if you really need to do something, if you really need to lift a heavy rock, Maruch, you're going to find a way to orientate your body. That's in you. So I'm all about accessing that. Now, I heard one thing. I heard one other thing that I thought was really good. I'm not sure who said it. It could have been Mike or Terry. Because, you know, what's the buddy, Keane? What's the buddy, the Irish buddy, Keane Mack?
All right.
And the other fella down in Arizona who's doing it, Colin, I think. They're big on this, and I love it. And one thing they've really spotted on is finding when you're copying, because, hey, listen to this. One of the old things, probably a Pennick thing, is go out with Sam Snead. You're going to play your kid, send your kid out with Sam Snead. He's going to figure out a way. If you send your kid out with the 25 handicapper, he's going to find a way to do that as well. So I think there is something really fantastic about imitation. And something that resonated with me from the measuring thing is find a pro who is somewhat similar to you, if at all possible. So I'd love to see, and maybe it exists some way that a person who wants to imitate, I think that's a great thing, can actually, in a tangible way, find somebody like them.
Yeah. And I'm wanting to add to that, and I want your take. When you find that pro, to be truthful enough to say, if the pro's going down one or other tangent that you feel like you can't do, you really have to be disciplined enough to say, yes, but let's find another way. Are you with me?
True story, yeah. Because, hey, the pro mightn't be hitting the tire himself or herself. Maybe they got to do that as well. Maybe you got to make sure the second pro's hitting the tire.
So true. That is so true. Okay, Rob, legendary stuff. So thankful you would bring so much truth. I'm watching you, and in my mind, I'm getting these images of a John the Baptist. You know, this passionate man who's laying the groundwork for the real truth. That's to me who you are. So apart from following folks following you on social media, how do they get more? Tell us how we can get to you.
There's a whole lot more coming, Marucci. There's an evolution coming. And let me tell you, this January the 23rd, a Thursday, I believe, down there in San Diego, nearby enough, the PGA Tour event of that day. I'm going to be down there putting on a live show in let me get it right, the holding company. All the details are going to be on the website, Marucci. Let me tell you, I'm bringing Big Bad Bob. I'm bringing poison darts. They're bringing me down. They're setting up a grip company. Shout out to those boyos. Yes, Marucci!
That is awesome news.
And thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me on. I love listening to your podcast. I'm excited to come over to the United States of America and spread what I believe is great information that I've come across in the 30 years that I've been playing golf.
I'm so thankful that you. One more thing. The website, the web address is, where do people go for that?
Thank you, Mark. It's www.speedgolfrob.com.
SpeedGolfRob.com. And that's where Instagram's where they find you by the same handle, right?
Exactly.
Rob, you are a legend. I'm thankful that you would join me. I'm thankful I could just make your voice, just enhance it a little bit more to a bigger audience, because the world needs truth and you the bearer thereof. Thank you.
Thank you too, Mark. And there's times when I'm up on the hill and the winds are high and I have to raise the voice. but I enjoy listening to you and the clarity of your voice. That means a lot too. So thank you, Marucci.